We've got a firm cuddle for you today to remind you not to be so hard on yourself, because normally around here we are pretty in your face, giving you a kick up the arse, telling you to get on with it and get it done. But today we're going to go the other way and give you a firm but gentle and loving cuddle to say, don't be so hard on yourself.
Some might say we might be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going yellow. But I reckon with all tangents and the way we are, it'll probably just transgress to just go, oh, you just got to fucking do more.
Well, we had a meeting with one of our favourite clients this week, and they'll be watching, talking to them about the frustrations when things aren't happening. And it led to a fascinating conversation. And it's not just them that is facing this. We see themes of this across different business owners. And at a nutshell, it can be very hard and frustrating when you want to be moving faster than you currently are, but the market just isn't allowing it, or you are coming up against a lot of friction or roadblocks or pushback. But we're here to remind you that sometimes that's just how it is, but to hang in there and to keep going, because most people won't.
100%. And I think it's a good reminder as business owners that being in business is like being on a roller coaster. And I like roller coasters. I think they're good fun. And there's bits in them where they're just like, yeehaw, this is cool. There's bits in it where it's just like, yawn, this is fucking boring. And then there's other bits where you're just hanging on for dear life going, fuck, get me off. And you just don't know what's coming up next if it's a brand new roller coaster that you've never been on. And I think there's similarities with business. And when you're in the weeds, and so many business owners are working in their business and don't take the time to work on the business, I think it's important to take a step back and go, where am I in my business cycle? And I think one of the greatest things a business owner can do and should do is get their P&L data and rather than doing it monthly, do it 2 monthly or quarterly. And you add up your sales quarterly and then graph it and do it for a period of 5 years. And then stand back and look at the trends and go, what months are up, what months are down. And I know from my own personal experience, having been on the roller coaster, that you're going hard, your foot's flat to the floor, and you're doing everything you possibly can to shake the tree to get some work, and because we're hungry. And then it's just like, man, this is getting really flat. You know, it's a no, or there's no one booking, or there's not happening. And then if you analyze the revenue trends in your own business, and I've seen in our own one, that in the February-March period, pretty sure it's February-March, it flattens off every year. That quarter, the first half of the year, it might drop off a little bit, or it flattens before it comes back up again. And it's just like, shit, okay, let's zoom out. Why am I feeling this way? Because revenue's flat, there's all the stuff, nothing's happening. It's just like, well, hang on. If I look back for the past 4 years, the same thing's happened here, here, here. Oh, no, I don't need to worry. So provided you keep putting your energy and focus in the right areas of the business and we remember to work on it, then it will pay dividends in the future.
Well, you speak of roller coasters that, geez, you just want to get off. And I thought you were talking about the Warriors in the background there in one of their seasons. Or many of theirs.
I was about to say, what, all of their seasons?
But I saw something fascinating yesterday, and what it was Manly versus the Knights in NRL. And trust me, this isn't a tangent. I think it's a very good analogy.
Yes, I think I've heard this one. You go. Yep.
Yeah. So I watched the highlights, and in the first half, and I'll tell you why I watched the highlights, because I did see there was a betting option that if your team was winning by more than 8 points at halftime, you'd be paid out. I thought, I'm going to watch the highlights to see what ended up happening and see if Manly spanked them. Now, Manly were winning, I think, 16-0 or something at halftime, maybe even more. And then the Knights came back in the second half and levelled it up, and it was just nothing was going right for them in that first half. Now, they ended up having to go to Golden Point, and then the Knights won it in Golden Point, and their star player got the try. Normally in Golden Point, it would be a drop goal or a penalty, and that ends the game.
Gotcha.
He catches it, he wins it, he gets a try. This guy, I don't know what round we're into now, he might be like 14. He hasn't scored a try like all season, and he's their marquee player. He carves up most teams, but things just aren't working for him. But what I didn't realise, and then I saw some after-match commentary where they were interviewing the captain and the coach, and the team were getting booed at halftime in their own stadium. Yeah. And then the coach basically said they don't understand league. And I thought, man, what a good representation of what life can be like and also business can be like. And people were willing to boo them at half time, but they still had to go back out there in the second half and get on with it and make it happen. And they certainly did that. And they have the last laugh and win the game, and they'll be remembered for winning the game and getting the points.
Yeah, spot on. The reason why it's rung a bell in my head is that it's made the news. The captain or whoever it was, they were interviewed at the end of the game, just as salty as, just so disappointed in their disrespectful fans at halftime with the booing and stuff, and how much of an impact. And then exactly that comment of like, they don't understand league. I mean, I didn't see it, but just the fact that, it was a big deal. But as you say, it's similar in business.
Yeah.
And I think some business owners do get that same frustration. And from us to business owners out there that are listening or watching, like, we get it, we understand it. We're in business too, and we kind of empathize with it. And the client that you spoke of that we've caught up with, we were talking before we hit the old live button, and there's other clients that we can think of where there's similar discussions, where they're just constantly putting in the work on so many different fronts, and it's just, they're shaking the tree as hard as you possibly can, but nothing's dropping out. And maybe as well as a league game, a roller coaster, it's almost like a fruit tree as well, that you're putting so much fertilizer and energy and effort into getting this tree to grow and the fruit to ripen, that you're shaking it, it's just not ready to drop. And I think the main thing is, so long as you keep shaking the tree and you don't get despondent, that you just go, you know what, I'll wait till next season, which is probably what the Warriors do, to be fair. They just stop shaking the tree. And they just turn up because they have to, maybe. I don't know. But I think the main thing there is, like, keep shaking the tree, because there is fruit on it. You've worked so hard to put the fruit on the tree, it's just not ripe yet. And there will come a time that you'll shake it at the right time and the fruit will drop. And it'll be one bit of fruit. And then it'll be another bit of fruit. And it's like, all of a sudden, hey, we're in season now. Yeah. The apples are dropping. The pears are dropping. Do they drop or do they get picked? I don't know. I've never worked in an orchard. I know with Feijoas, tangent, because I got told off by my grandparents. We had these 2 massive Feijoa trees at our old house. I don't know if you remember them, up in the back corner. They had Feijoas the size of tennis balls and bigger, and they were fantastic. And I remember when we first got this place and we saw the size of them, and I said to my grandparents, we've got da-da-da-da, and we picked them. And they were like,
what are you doing?
You don't pick Feijoas, you wait for them to drop. And they were like, the secret is you shake the tree. And then as soon as they drop, they're the real fresh ones. You grab those and bite off the top, spit it out, and suck that baby dry. Yeah.
Wow.
There's a bit to unpack there.
Anyway, mate, I was a master of selling Feijoas back at university, so very, very familiar with
Never
shaking
sold
the tree.
them, but ate plenty of them, and I think business can be somewhat similar. And I've done it to plenty of Feijoa trees in my time. In fact, down in Riverhead, like, we don't have any more Feijoas at our new house, so we have to go wandering. And we've found this little path down in Riverhead, and there's this tree that's overgrown from a neighbouring property to this public thing, and Grace and I walked along, and I'm like, there's a Feijoa tree, I know what I'm doing. And I fucking shook this damn thing, and I'm like, watch where they drop. Scavenging them up, and then it's like, right, on the way back, shaking this bad boy, and not as many drop down, but I'm just like, give me some more, I want some more. And I guess business is somewhat similar. We're shaking that tree, and we're just wanting the fruit to drop. And it's frustrating when it doesn't, because we put so much effort and energy into it. And I guess it's just a sign that the market's just not ready, despite all the effort and work that you put in. It's just not ready. But provided you remain consistent with it, it will come. And I think there needs to be some kind of mechanism or framework in there that, as business owners, you take a step back and you do recognize the effort that you are putting in. And you go, you know what? Yeah, I am actually doing everything I possibly can. I am sending emails. I am doing engagement online on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I'm sending out emails. I'm proactive with all my hot leads. I'm going back to all my previous customers. You know, I've installed a fence and I'm calling the person a year later. You know, is there anything that you need doing? I painted a fence. Do you want it repainted? Like, you're doing everything you possibly can. And if it's no after no after no, we get it. But it will come because you are taking all the right steps. And I think it's important for business owners to recognize that it's good for the brain that you recognize it.
Yeah, and I think a good thing to remember is that others aren't going to do it. like they won't
Spot
do
on.
it. And it's very easy when things aren't going your way to think that you're losing. But imagine how much losers are losing. That sounds really harsh, but I'm done with it. Like there's so many people out there that talk a big game that don't do sweet FA and they complain. That's who you're competing with. And all of us have them in our industries, and we all saw them through COVID, and you're seeing them now through a recession. Imagine what it's going to be like for them. You know, and if you're willing to just keep doing what you know has worked, I think there's a good distinction there. A few of the clients we've been speaking to that are frustrated with this and the stage of the market, they know that what they've done has worked in the past. Yeah. The market's just not there. Different if you're doing something where it doesn't work anymore and we go, okay, that's been and gone. We know this works. We've got too much data to suggest that it doesn't. It'll come. You know, it'll happen, like you say. And I think the thing that's pushing back against us is we live in a world where everything's instant and fast and accessible. And I think people have underestimated how much that impacts their life. I caught myself doing this today. I got off the plane. I walked past, I needed some water because I knew that I hadn't drunk much water today. And I walked past the store because I'm like, I just can't be bothered going in there. And then I'm like, come on, mate, like you still need to drink the water. So get a bottle. And I knew, because I've been through the airport before, I'm like, oh, there's a drink station, halfway through. And so I stopped there and I key in the bloody number, and within 30 seconds I've got a bottle of water in my hand. And it's like,
problem, solution, instantaneous.
Yeah, but that makes us think that everything's, easy and accessible and right there. And sometimes the world does show up like that, but then when we're trying to achieve big things or build things, the world doesn't work like that. For that machine to be there, somebody has to go in and convince Auckland Airport for them to have it. Someone's got to go back there and restock it. And someone's got to go fix it when it's broken. And all the different things that go into it. But we just see like, oh, great, I can get a bang. I tapped my phone. I didn't even need to get my wallet out.
Wow.
Just bang, tap, grand, got my water, off you go. But that's not, I think, what life is like in business. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of planting seeds. And then you get to shake the tree, like you say. But eventually you shake it and you've got to wait for it to, replenish itself.
Yeah. Get into next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think going back to an earlier point around, and I can't remember the exact words that you used, but it was around like the business owners that don't do the work. And there's plenty of them out there. And I think that they are businesses people disguising themselves that they've got a business when really they just got a job. Like they're passive in the market. They just wait for the work to come from them. And this could be rash shock. And there could be people listening to this going, I don't understand what you guys are saying because I don't feel that way. Probably because you're not aspirational is what I'd put out there. No, 100%. Like you think about the frustration that these business owners that we're thinking of, the work that they're doing and the reward that they're getting back on it. They're in a low period and they're just pushing, grinding. It's because they're aspirational. Like they want more and they're doing more and it's causing frustration. Whereas the people that are out there not doing any of that, they're not feeling frustrated. They're not feeling let down because they're not aspirational.
Fair enough. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they would like to think that they probably are.
Yeah, like I'm putting that out there, but I mean, you've to be aspirational, you've got to be hungry, and you've got to be like hungry like a dog, starving. You're just constantly looking for something to eat, and if you're not feeling that way, you've really got to challenge yourself. Do you have yourself a job dressed up as a business? And it's just a 9 to 5 and you get to claim some expenses, or are you genuinely on the way to having a business that's becoming an asset and it's got value beyond just generating an income that you can shake the tree and then you've got other people shaking the tree with you? Because I think that's the important thing with a business is over time it's just not you shaking the tree, there's a team of people shaking the tree.
Yeah.
And in time it could be multiple trees. And we've got a big team shaking an entire orchard, catching a stack load of fruit.
Yeah, one of the other examples that I saw recently was a client and they've stopped drinking because...
Alcohol?
Yeah. Like they were in the grind, and that's one thing that they've identified, like, I'm just going to see what comes of it. And then they're fresher, they're probably doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do, but they've sacrificed, I think. It doesn't need to be alcohol, but they've gone, right, I need to make sure that I know that I'm doing everything that I can. And I'm not in a season where I can be having fun and drinking or whatnot. My business and livelihood depends on this. So I'm going to have to be all in it for a season. But again, like they've made that conscious decision where I think other people would probably start drinking more.
100%. That's a big call to make, to like when you're feeling frustrated and down, it's like we'll go into binge mode and we'll do the stuff that's bad for us. We won't go to the gym. We'll drink more piss. We'll eat more chocolate. Hello, Phil. All of those bad habits. So to have a really strong determination and resilience to actually go say no to that stuff and make it a complete no, we're going to cut that out rather than just limit, like that's a big call. The thing that I'd come to in terms of a solution for business owners would be to firstly recognize when you're feeling that way and then go, okay, in reference to then thinking about a cup, it's half full or it's almost freaking empty, we're running on fumes, and go, well, right, what are the things we need to do to fill the cup back up? And it could be sports related. It could be going for a swim, going for a walk, playing golf, spending time outdoors, just something. There's going to be stuff that you know that once you've done it, it makes you feel good. The endorphins start flowing. And I think as business owners, it's really, really critical to find out what those activities are, or those things that you can go away and do to invest time into that are going to fill you up again to give you the energy so you can keep going.
Yeah, I had a client yesterday that I was doing a session with, and that's exactly what they're talking about. They're basically saying they need to give themselves the permission that it's okay to go to jiu-jitsu and the sauna or the gym in the middle of the day, when it's not normal for other people to do that, but they don't need to constantly be like jamming into work and work. They've had to make sense of, okay, like that's just as important to look after myself, and something good will come of that. And I think, it's I think I might have told this story recently, but I was talking to a young fella who has got into like investment advice, and he's like, well, I'm not going to find clients sitting behind my desk. He's like, I need to be having like games of golf. I need to be out there. I need to be networking, because that's where the money is. It's not me sitting behind my desk. Sure, you could maybe cold call a whole heap of people, but cold calling people and asking do they want to invest $500,000 with you is probably not going to be the way to hit your target. So this person can identify that the work's not going to happen in the office. He's got to go out there and hunt and gather and then bring it back and then tidy up the admin in the background.
The other common theme in thinking about the couple of business owners that we're referencing for this topic is the solution that they've turned to in the first instance, listening to someone, us. And the immediate feedback that we've had in all of these cases is, shit, guys, thanks. That's really helped. That's been useful because it's given them some clarity, some focus. It's reinforced that they're doing the right things, and it helps fill their cup back up and give them the confidence that they're on the right track. It's just a timing issue. So if you're not a client of ours, we're not going to hold it against you, but there's going to be somebody in your corner, pick up the phone or go and catch up with them over a beer or coffee or whatever it is, Chardonnay, and shoot the shit. Just say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. I just want to sound off. I'm not unloading, trying to feel shit. I'm just, just want to chew the fat and just make sure I'm on the right track.
I think it's also on that it's good to have people that are maybe in the same industry as you that you can lean on, but similar types of people. Don't be a high performer and then go and ask a low performer like, oh, what are you seeing out there? Oh yeah, it's all buggered and whatnot. You're like, oh, same for us. Okay, that's interesting. You want to go to people that you know are in that same sort of mindset and see, what are you seeing? But, go and get data, because your frustration may be backed up by other people who are in the same industry seeing the same challenges. Doesn't mean that you can't buck the trend, but sometimes it's a bit of a reality check of, okay, this is what other people are facing. And then the other piece is just to actually have some gratitude for the things that are doing well.
Spot on.
Because I think for high performers and aspirational people, we want everything to be going well all the time. But often, there'll be something that's not, so then we focus on that and we're like, why isn't this good? But then we forget that everything else is pretty good. Now, I had a really interesting call with a client this week, and they've had a shit of a 12 months where they've lost their father, and that happened suddenly for them. That meant that they had to move where they were and completely change their life. They've become a father. They've bought a property. They've made a lot of life changes. And I said to this client, I said, I bet if someone gave you a look into your future and said, here's your next 12 months, are you ready? You would say, fuck no. And I said, I bet you wouldn't want to do it. And said 100%, like, there's no way that I would see myself working through all of that in such a short period of time. Like, a lot of it's been over 6 months. And their business is still like doing quite well. So they built the infrastructure to allow it to happen, but they've got to have a level of acceptance that, okay, maybe that wasn't a season where they're out there just humming like they normally are. And they've gotten through all of that. The business has survived. They've looked after themselves and they've had to work through it all. And now it's back into a season of, okay, back onto the original path. And I think a lot of us, we can forget like how well other parts of our business are going or our lives are going because we're just so focused as high performers on wanting everything to be completely dialed in all the time.
100%. And this draws me to a post that I saw on Instagram back on the 1st of January 2025. And it goes a little something like this. This January, start the year with an empty jar. You might know where this has come from because I think you follow this person. Every week you add a note with a good thing that happened. On New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve at the end of the year, empty the jar and read about the amazing you had. And I thought, that's a nugget. And I thought, shit, you know what? I'll take some action on here. We're up to week 26 because I've been doing it consistently.
Nice.
And it's quite fascinating that when you look back on a week, there's nuggets of good things that happen in your business or life that you can add into this jar. And it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be multiple things across different things. And I know with what I've jotted down in this week 20, maybe it's up to week 23, 24, you look back and in some of those periods it's just like you look back and you're just like, oh, that's right. It's like, yeah, fuck, actually there's some good stuff going on. Right, fuck, let's.
Yeah, nice.
And it's those little things. It's all well and good like reading that stuff and going, yeah, that's a good idea. I think the important thing is you got to put it into action. If you've never done stuff like that before, and I know when you first started years ago on that notes app with the gratitude thing, was it 3?
Yeah, 3 a day, yeah.
3 a day. Do you still do it?
Have to be scrolling. Nah, I'm kind of like more to do it in the moment rather than, I don't do it I started writing it so I didn't have to
you got up
scrolling.
to hundreds, maybe even thousands?
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah, and that was just like, whoa.
It would take us so long to get to the bottom.
Yeah, and it was a notes app, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that for you would have just been such a good outlet to then reflect back on it, and it's just like, wow, there is all this positive stuff. So despite all the shit that's going on in business, because we know it's a roller coaster, and we know or it could be a tree that's not yielding any fruit, but if we look back, there are actually gems in there if we give them the attention. And I think where your attention flows will be where the good stuff happens. And if you keep feeding the good stuff, more good stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, I shout out to my mum here. Because,
look out. And we're going to have to tag her in this and you're going to have to forward a copy.
Don't worry, mate. She'll be listening.
Yeah, nice.
She brought me a little calendar for the year. And it's basically a quote every day. So every morning I start my day by ripping off the last day to see what new quote is. And 90% of the time they're very like uplifting, inspirational, they're epic, and they really get you thinking. Every now and then I'm like, what the hell is that quote? But it's by like somebody. Most of the time I don't even know who the person is. Yeah. But there was a really good one the other day, and it was basically like, you'll never meet a punching bag than adversity.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when it's hard, we forget that that's actually really good for us. And what are we hearing about? People are lacking resilience. And now we're in a time where we get to, have a spar with the bloody punching bag of resilience and adversity. And we're like, oh, I just wish it was easy. I wish Luxon would fix it. Oh, this fucking government or whatever. And it's like,
fix it.
That punching bag already knocked you out, man. Get back up. And I saw driving past Main Freight today. It was basically like, when you're about to throw in the towel, don't. Use it to clean up the mess and carry on.
Oy. Is that the quotes that they put on the side of the building? That's good.
Planting something like that into your life, I think, can completely change how you see the day or how you're thinking about something.
100%.
And for that client I mentioned before, like, imagine the resilience that they've built in that year, having all of those major life moments jammed into 6 months, and just basically like, the world doesn't care, bro. Figure it out. And they've done exactly that. They will have leaps and bounds on other people with resilience.
2 questions on the back of that, mate. One, the quotes that you got as a gift, does it make you think of your mum? And then secondly, how often has your mum appeared in your gratitude journal?
Oh, most weeks, mate. Come on. Man. Well, like I said, Mum's coming to stay next week, actually.
Is she? Shout out to Mama Kay.
Yep, she'll be floating around. So, yeah, it's if you can plant things like that in your life, I think they are, they might be more helpful to some people than others. But, for the sake of $20 or $30 or whatever, like, why not? Rather than the first thing you do, you're getting on your phone and it's like another negative news article about how the world sucks.
Oh, it's so easy to fill yourself up with shit stuff, and you only need to jump on. I mean, I'm not on TikTok because I'm not stupid, but like Instagram, and the algorithm is so smart. Like as soon as you start going down a rabbit hole of stuff, it's going to keep feeding you that. So I look at my Instagram reels, and it's full of Porsches and watches, and that's it. That's pretty much my Instagram. But I know that if I start looking at something crazy like, I don't know, Teslas, because that would be batshit crazy of Phil, it would start to give me more of that. And I think when you start and go down the negative pathway of like consuming some of the bad stuff because that's what's got attention here, that's going to frame a thing. And it's just like, oh, there's all this bad stuff going on. Oh, the world's against me.
Yeah.
Oh, everything's hard. But it's like, well, hang on. Let's make a conscious decision to ignore that stuff and replace it with actually positive stuff, because that's a choice. We can choose what we want to feed into our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, all that kind of stuff. Let's change the inputs, which we've spoken about before. And if we give attention to the positive stuff, it will give rise to more positive things. We become more aware of the more exciting, positive things in our lives, and all the gross stuff then just goes, it hides awareness of it and going, how can we put a positive spin on this to then carry on?
Yeah, so important. I think a lot of people have lacked that ability to use those. They don't have those tools to be able to do that through this recession and, through how the economy's been. But it's going to be more and there's going to be more tough stuff that comes up, and we're all going to have to face it. So, yeah, I think every now and then we have to just accept that hard areas of our life could potentially be reshaped as good, because they will lead to good in the future. I almost remember like when we would go through like little ruts or like frustrating patches to teach myself to become excited by it. I'd be like, oh man, this is where they talk about where most people quit.
Yeah.
And I'd think, okay, like if we dig in and just keep doing what we've always done, it'll come.
I see it now as like if there's a flat patch or a quiet patch, it's that chance to go, this is the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
Or it's the eye of the storm. Like we've just gone through this really crazy period and it's been wild and it's just like, wow, this thing. Then all of a sudden it's just like, it disappears and it's, oh, wow. Okay, you're in the eye of the storm, or the tide's just gone out and you're left standing there before it comes back in and you're absolutely getting pounded by the waves again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you where it is, just like the roller coaster. You're sitting right up the front of this thing with a blindfold on and you don't know what the next move is. Oh, it's fun. But you just got to get used to it, and you've got to frame your mind that way that it is fun and look for the bright spots, because it is very easy when you're in business, because it can be lonely. Like most out there are just solo people or husband and wife's partners, not massive big beasts. So it can be quite lonely. So where is your outlet for all of these frustrations?
Yeah, I think the thing to remember too is that all of us can probably reflect on this and remind ourselves of a time that when we're really busy, we wish that it wasn't so busy. And then when we're not, we wish that it was more busy.
Yeah.
So we have very short memories as humans.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Right, mate, that's about it for me. Hopefully it's a nice, gentle, warm, but firm cuddle for the business owners out there.
Just thinking hopefully people tuning into this one are feeling a little bit of the love and the kindness from the lads, and that they can recognise that if they're in that position, that it's normal, it's okay, and there are brighter spots and you are in control, and just keep hammering on.
Just go through it. I had to go to the dentist this week, and I always have to remind myself this should only be like the allocated time that they've said that it will be. So, yep, there might be some pain in it, but I should be able to last it. And it's not going to be all day, hopefully. It's not going to take all week, etc.
Yep.
But there will always be pain at some stage in your life, and you've just got to keep going. And, sometimes it's a great teacher for us as well.
Yeah. Go out and keep shacking the tree, folks.